Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of elPablo FC. And today we are going to be analyzing all the matches that took place in the Spanish La Liga, especially with regards to game week 9. And we're going to be reviewing all the games and all of that. And trust me, it was a proper test of mettle for some teams, especially for some teams that are, that seem to be, losing ground at the top. And first, the match week 9 was headed by the El Clásico that took place between Barcelona and Real Madrid at the Santiago Bernabéu, where Real Madrid were home. And then you have to take cognizance of the fact that it determines who comes top at the table. Then we have to also think about certain things like how much more the rivalry was. We've talked about this in another video, but we will still do a little bit of a breakdown here. And basically 4 attempts last season for Real Madrid and none. So we're going to talk about that match in this review. First, we start with Real Sociedad versus Sevilla. That game ended with a 2-1 win for Real Sociedad, who were at home. Momentum was largely on their side until they lost momentum and the game ended in a ball position of 40-60 for Real Sociedad to Sevilla. And then goals were from Oyarzabal at 19, who scored a penalty. And then we had a 36-minute goal for him again to give Real Sociedad a 2-1 win. After they've struggled this season. Basically the lineup, the table for them now puts Real Sociedad, moves Real Sociedad from 18th to 19th to 17th with 9 points, albeit they're the same with Sevilla, who are on 9 points as well, and with basically minus 6 goals difference for Valencia versus Real Sociedad, who are minus 4 goals difference. And Sevilla, that they beat after 10 games, Sevilla are on 13 points. And basically, Real Sociedad just kind of clawed their way back into that lineup, which takes us to the next game. Girona versus Real Oviedo. That game ended in a 3-3 draw, with Girona having most of the possession and 65%, 35% ball possession to Real Oviedo. And Girona actually had to claw themselves back, as Real Oviedo were 2-0 up at the time, and then Girona scored. Real Oviedo through Vinas, they scored at the 38th minute through a penalty, and then Rondon scored at 57th minute, and then obviously Christian Stuani came and scored at the 64th minute to get it a penalty to get it to 2-1, and then obviously at the 83rd minute, Uani scored to make it a 2-2, and then they eventually led through another penalty at the 90th minute through Christian Stuani, and then Carmo came and equalized at the 90 plus 7 minutes, and that leaves Girona, I think, still at the bottom of the table. If you look at the table, they're still at the bottom with 7 points, with 1 win, 4 draws, and 5 losses, and they seem to be relegation fodder. Guess what? Girona is a sister club to Manchester City, just so you know. And Real Oviedo, who just came into the Spanish La Liga, and 19th on the table with 7 points as well, same points as Girona, with 2 wins, 1 draw, and 7 losses. They seem to have started really well until now they have, basically fallen off. And then we go to the next game, Espanyol versus Elche, ended in 1-0 win from Romero, who scored the goal. Carlos Romero, who scored the goal, 23-year-old left back, who scored the goal for Espanyol. But Elche had the most, possession, but expected goals also speaks as well, as Espanyol had 1.93, while Elche had 0.86 expected goals. And then the game finished 68% ball possession to 32% Espanyol, who were home, and all of that. And for the table, Espanyol will sit basically at 5th, while Elche continued their strong start to the season at 8th, basically with 3 wins, 5 draws, and 2 losses, 14 points. While Espanyol, who managed to scrape a win, have 5 wins, three draws and 2 losses, and they also have a strong start to the season in fifth, which takes us to the next game, which is Athletic Club versus Getafe. That was a shocker of the weekend on Saturday. Getafe beat Athletic Club 1-0, with Getafe and Athletic Club going bone for bone, 56 to 44% ball possession for Athletic versus Getafe. And then the expected goals also speaks volume. Getafe had the more chance opportunity to win the game. They ended with 0.93% ball possession to 0.93 xG to 0.38 for Athletic Club or Athletic Bilbao. And then obviously in that game, Mayoral scored at the 75th minute. The 28-year-old Spanish striker scored at the 76th. 75th minute. Borja Mayoral was the player of the match, and he had the highest rating as well. Borja Mayoral also completed the most dribbles, 3 in the match, played the full 90 minutes, and really did well for Getafe. And that is speaking volumes for a team that has kind of had a bit of an up and down start. And both teams are following each other and they have the same points, 14 points each, with 4 wins, 2 draws, and 4 losses. Getafe has a negative 2 goal difference to Athletic Club, who have negative 1. Both teams have basically scored goals. Getafe has scored 10 goals, considered 12. Athletic Club has scored 9 goals, considered 10. And Athletic Club seems to be going down, but they are 9th, and Getafe are 10th. And then we takes us to the next game, Valencia versus Villarreal. Relegation foders versus top of the table fighters. Villarreal, coming off the loss to Real Madrid, played against Valencia, who are struggling at the moment, and they are all in relegation zone. The Yellow Submarines through Moreno. Moreno should be the former Gerard Moreno, Gerard Moreno, 33-year-old former Liverpool player. I think, was he the former Liverpool player? Just give me a quick sec. Let me just have a quick check. He should be, let's see. Gerard Moreno played for No. Hold on, one quick sec. Just quickly checking. Yeah, he's been all around Spanish, like not the Moreno I thought. This is Gerard Moreno, who basically played. He came through Villarreal, went away for a bit to Mallorca on loan, and came back and went to Espanyol and came back again. So he scored. The 33-year-old. It should be a veteran now. The 3-year-old striker scored the penalty. And then you had also Santi Comesana, who is a central midfielder, 29-year-old Spanish international, scoring the other goal to take Villarreal higher up the table. With the lineup, you can see that they have a very strong lineup with Mikotadze, who came from Bodo Glimt, to Moreno, and then Idrissa Gueye as well. Pape Gueye from Senegal. He also 26-year-old central midfielder, had some shots and stuff. And then they have Pepe, former Arsenal player, and all of that. So then they have Renato Viega, who also performed very well, former Chelsea player. So Villarreal went on to win Valencia 2-0 to kind of dump Valencia at the bottom of the table. Valencia are now 18th on the table with 2 wins, 3 draws, and 5 defeats, 9 points, while Villarreal are 3rd with 6 wins, 2 draws, 2 losses, with 20 points. So Villarreal are really battling to topple the top. And then, which takes us to Sunday's games. Mallorca with Levante ended in a 1-1 draw. Real Mallorca versus UD Levante, 1-1 draw. Mafio and Eyong scored. Eyong is a target for Manchester United. Eta Eyong, Cameroonian international, 22-year-old. He had the least touches, 38, of any outfield player that played 90 minutes for Levante. And Eta Eyong lost the most duels, 12 in the match. He's 22 years old and he's a target of most clubs in Europe. Real Mallorca had the most possession in the game, and Pablo Mafio was the man of the match for that game, which takes us to the El Clásico. I'll give you the review and all of that. But Kylian Mbappé scored at the 22nd minute. Also scored a belt of a shot that was disallowed. And then Bellingham scored at the 43rd minute before the halftime. And then you also had Fermin Lopez, scoring at 38th minute with an assist from Marcus Rashford. And then you also had Pedri getting a red card in that game, 90 plus 10 minutes. And then, obviously, Barcelona tried to press back. They had more of the possession, 68% to 32%. But Real Madrid had the most XG because they had the more quality shots, 3.63. And they had the most shots on target, 23 total shots to Barcelona's 15. And the big chances, Real Madrid had 4, Barcelona had 2. And guess what? Player of the match based on ratings by FOTMob is Szczesny, because he had a lot of saves to make, right? And all of that. Kylian Mbappé missed a penalty, and then his goal in 12 minutes. In the second minute, he missed a penalty. At 12 minutes, his goal was ruled for offside, which takes us to the next game. Real Madrid now. Let's talk about Real Madrid on the table. They lead the line. They lead the table with 5 points ahead of Barcelona with 9 wins, no draws, and 1 loss, while Barcelona have 7 wins, 1 draw, 2 losses, 22 points. So, and the next game, I think Barcelona's next game is Elche, 2nd of November. Real Madrid's next game is Valencia, 1st of November. They look to, extend the lead from 5 points to 8 points with that win. And then, which takes us to the next game, which is Osasuna versus Celta Vigo. And you could tell that this was also a 6-pointer as well. Celta Vigo were trying to find momentum, but Osasuna had the most momentum and still lost the game. Bodmir scored in the 37th minute through a penalty, and in the and just at halftime, before halftime, through an open goal. And then obviously you have Jude, who scored in the 26th and the 69th minute, and then you have John Duran. You had Pablo Duran, 24 years Spanish international striker, scored in the 87th minute to win the game. And Celta Vigo's Ferran Julia is the man of the match for that one. And then you have Rayo Vallecano. This is about almost at the end of it. The 9th game was Rayo Vallecano versus Deportivo Alavés. That game ended 1-0 to Rayo Vallecano. Speaking of, before we go on to Rayo Vallecano, with the table, Osasuna and Celta Vigo following each other in 13th and 14th on the table with 10 points each. Celta Vigo edging Osasuna on goals difference after scoring 11 and conceding 13. Osasuna scoring 9 and conceding 12. So it is what it is. And then we move on to Rayo Vallecano Deportivo Alavés. Deportivo Alavés scored, it ended 1-0. Zawalski scored the goal in the 90 plus 1 minute, just at the end of the game. Vallecano had more of the ball possession with regards to that compared to Deportivo Alavés. And man of the match was Pep Chavaria. And Pep Chavaria, with regards to the table, where they stand, Rayo Vallecano are pushing up to 7th, just under Real Betis, which is the next game we're going to talk about. 4 wins, 2 draws, and 4 losses, 14 points, while Deportivo Alavés are stuck in 12th with 12 points, with 3 wins, 3 draws, and 4 losses. So, things are shaping up on the table as Real Betis faced Atletico Madrid. And Atletico Madrid, coming off the defeat to Arsenal in the Champions League, will come back with a fighting spirit. And guess what? The momentum was mostly on Real Betis because Real Betis were home. And guess what? Atletico Madrid, just to give you a bit of an idea, Real Betis Bina opens an account as Simeone's team grab first away win. Guillermo Simeone and Alex Bima were on target as Atletico Madrid sealed a clinical win over Real Betis on Monday, which was today. It's the time of recording versus the time of watching. Atletico Madrid eased to a comfortable 2-0 win over Real Betis at the Estadio Bonito Villamarín, with Alex Bima netting his first goal for the club. Guillermo Simeone, Giuliano Simeone broke the deadlock just 3 minutes into the match, into the La Liga clash, rifling a powerful low effort into the bottom right corner from the edge of the area after Koke's setup. Atletico Madrid dominated for much of the first half, with Nico Gonzalez forcing a string of saves from Pau Lopez and Julian Alvarez firing narrowly wide on the counter midway through the half. Ricardo Rodriguez also came close with Betis, but Betis's best opportunity of the first half, sending the rocket from outside the box narrowly wide of the post. Bima also doubled Atleti's lead on the stroke of halftime with a superb curler from the left-hand channel, though Betis had a penalty appeal for a handball turned down just moments earlier. So, pretty interesting game. Giuliano Simeone has now been directly involved in 4 goals in his first 5 La Liga appearances, 1 goal and 3 assists, equaling his tally from the previous 18 matches in the competition. Indeed, his opening goal after just 2 minutes 59 seconds in is Atletico's fastest goal in the league this season. Despite a lack of goal-mouth action, Betis generated 1.10 expected goals XG compared to Atletico 0.64. So XG sometimes doesn't really speak volumes sometimes. So suggesting that the hosts could also perhaps consider themselves unfortunate not to get something more out of the match. This means that this win also extends Atletico's undefeated run in La Liga to 9 matches, their longest of such streaks since the run of 11 from May to October last year. Diego Simeone has now won 19 La Liga games against Betis, only against Getafe 20. He won more matches in the competition. So pretty much straightforward. Atletico Madrid Real Betis versus Atletico Madrid round off the La Liga week, which takes us to the next game, which will happen on Friday against between Getafe and Girona. And we're going to do that review, but we just thought to bring you a review of the game. We're going to do that preview and then review as well. Thought to bring you for this one. Let me know your thoughts and feelings in the comment section. You're welcome once again to elPablo FC. Next video you're probably going to watch is the video of the 5 things we learned from the Premier League. But this is your place for all things Premier League, Champions League, Spanish La Liga, and all football news as regards to everything football. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for liking, sharing, and subscribing. If you haven't already, please do like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't have to miss anything as it relates to all things football. I'll see you on the next one. Take care, goodbye, and God bless.